What would you do if the most embarrassing moment of your life came back to haunt you in human form? Like the thing you've been trying to recover from and still battling with, which left your life uprooted, comes back out of the blue. It would suck, right? This is why my life sort of sucks at this moment because of my ex-fiancee Sarah, who left me at the altar 2 months ago, is now back in my life asking for another chance. Sounds crazy, right? Let me start this properly by introducing myself first. So I am Josh, and my life has been an utter mess the past 2 months since the day Sarah left me at the altar for another guy. But now she's back, and believe me, this feels like an even bigger mess because I don't know what to do. This is what got me here, writing to strangers. You can imagine what a mess my brain is right now. I couldn't believe it when she left me, and now that she's back, I still can't believe that this is actually happening to me because, honestly, it all feels like some twisted nightmare. I think I should give you guys some context of why Sarah coming back after 2 months is such a shock to me. So you see, Sarah and I met in a bookstore, where Sarah was working as a cashier a year ago. She was one of the prettiest girls I ever laid eyes on. So, I was smitten from the very first moment. Now I know what they say about looks being deceiving is right because we know what shithole this entire thing has led me into. Yeah, so I just frequented the store more and more, but never had the courage to ask Sarah out, owing to my socially awkward personality and utter lack of confidence. But I guess I was in luck, or bad luck as I'd say considering the situation I'm in right now. But at the time, it just seemed like the stars were in my favor because a few days later, Sarah asked me out herself, and we got to dating soon. We were basically polar opposites, as Sarah was an extrovert. Honestly, at first, I thought that was just perfect because we balanced each other out. You can already judge that I was head over heels for this girl, so I didn't waste much time and proposed to her just after 6 months of dating. And she said yes. Even my family liked her. Basically, this was the girl for me who checked all the boxes. Well, at least until the wedding, when she just left me standing there at the altar, utterly humiliated in front of all my friends and family. I had been too excited for the wedding and tried to make sure I gave Sarah the wedding of her dreams. And the crazy part is, I didn't even feel anything was off with our relationship. Maybe I was too blinded by love, but I never thought, even in my wildest dreams, that something like that could happen until it did. So, turns out, Sarah had been seeing this guy Patrick behind my back for the past few months. I must have been really stupid not to catch her deception until she had clearly laid it out for me by not showing up to our wedding. On the wedding day, I was there waiting at the altar to see my beautiful bride, when I saw Sarah's parents talking to my parents, looking all worried. My mom came up to me and told me that they couldn't seem to find Sarah. I got a bit worried, but still, I believe she might have gone for some last-minute thing, but she'd be here. So, I just rang her phone continuously, and each time it went straight to voicemail. I was getting worried sick. It did not cross my mind even once that Sarah had stood me up on our wedding day. I was just worried for her safety. And then, after half an hour of waiting and standing at the altar, I got a text from Sarah. A simple text reading she won't be coming to the wedding because she found a better man than me. In that text, she wrote how she'd been seeing Patrick for the past few months. She admitted it started as a fling and she thought she'd ended soon, but then she fell for him. But until then, it was too late because she had already said yes to my proposal and did not want to break my heart by canceling the wedding then. And at last, it was written that she just couldn't go through with it. That's all. No apology, nothing. Just this explanation. Well, after what she did, I should feel lucky that she at least gave me an explanation, right? What a kind soul Sarah is. Do you see how crazy this is? So the humiliation of leaving me at the altar would break my heart less than the humiliation of canceling the wedding in the first place? Does she know how stupid this was? I'd have preferred her saying no to my proposal or even canceling the wedding than to leave me at the altar. You guys can imagine the sort of humiliation and trauma this event brought me. I did not leave my house for some days because everyone was giving me pitiful looks. I could not stand it. I went through all the stages of grief. I even got so depressed that I thought of starting therapy. It was just too much pain to think that Sarah would do this to me. It had been 2 months since the wedding incident, but I was still trying to move on from the whole thing. So, you can imagine how shocked I must have been when Sarah showed up yesterday in the middle of the family dinner, crying and sobbing her heart out. I was too taken aback to even talk to her. She cried and told me how she made a mistake and regretted it instantly the next day. She told me how she had missed me these 2 months trying to gather the courage to get back to me. And you can guess what my next question to her would have been. I asked her straight away about Patrick. She cried some more and told me that she dumped Patrick the next day of the wedding itself because she realized I was actually the one for her. Call me stupid, but all of this happened unexpectedly and it just made me emotional to see Sarah there all of a sudden claiming that she still loved me. But then, all of the memories of the embarrassment I faced flashed right in front of my eyes, and the reason that she was the one who subjected me to all that humiliation was too much for me to bear. So, I just bolted out of the room. Now, it has been a few hours since I left my house, and I am here at some park at around midnight because I don't know what to do. I'm so confused right now, and that has got me ranting my feelings here. I don't know what game Sarah is playing, and I know I'll be stupid if I took her back. I don't even plan to, but my mind is conflicted. It's like there's a war going on between my heart and my brain. My heart wants to believe that Sarah is here for me, and she's actually what she's claiming to be. My mind, on the other hand, is reminding me of how I still have not been able to recover from the humiliation that girl has caused me. My mom called me after I bolted out. I was hesitant to pick up her call, but I still did. She told me that Sarah had left soon after I did, but Sarah told her that she'll be back to talk to me. My mom tried to get me to come back home, but even if Sarah was no longer there, I wanted to be alone and sit here with my thoughts. My mom thinks I should talk to Sarah once, hear out what she wants to say, and why she's back all of a sudden. My mom is saying all this because she saw how miserable I was after the whole thing. I know I shouldn't even think about taking her back in the right mind, but I am still conflicted about what I should do. It's just that my emotions are messing with my head. So, guys, please, tell me, what can I do now? Should I talk to her or just let it be and ignore her? I really want to know why she is here after not talking to me for 2 months. I just don't know what to do. So help me out. Any suggestions or advice on what I can do now would be appreciated. I guess I'll update once I figure out how I'm going to handle this situation. So yeah, until then, thanks for reading my rant. Comments. Wow, original post. I can clearly see how much this whole thing has affected you. Well, I don't even blame you. Love and deception might blind a man's sanity. I can see that it's all because of your feelings for Sarah that you feel so conflicted right now. It's clear that you still love her maybe, and there's nothing wrong with this. Each of us take our time moving on, but all I'm saying is don't let your emotions get the best of you. Sarah's intentions might or might not be genuine. I'd suggest be careful, talk it out with her, and see where it leads you. All I hear is a guy who's going crazy after a girl who dumped him in front of 100 people. Like, really, original post? Do you even need to think of what to do in this situation? It just shows how you're just a spineless man who can't even take a stand for yourself. Like, come on, man. Instead of crying on the internet about it, just man up and cut this girl off, who's just toxic, I guess. To even think you're considering taking her back just shows how stupid you are. Of course she left you for some guy in the first place, cause it's clear you just can't fight against the people who wronged you. Update 1. Hey guys, it's me again. And it's been a week since I wrote about the circus that's been my life lately. You wonder why I'm calling it a circus. You guys will know by the end of this update. I know my emotions were all over the place in the last post, and I might have said some crazy things, which many people didn't fail to point out in the comments, but my only concern is how harsh they were about the judgment. So, I'd like to reply to those who called me stupid to even think about taking Sarah back. I know the only one sane decision in this situation is to stay as far away from Sarah as possible, but you guys must understand that I was under a lot of stress and my mind was a complete mess when I wrote the post. So, it's natural for me to think like that. But you could have pointed that out without being mean. Anyway, I'd like to ignore all such people. Now, here's to the people who supported me when I was losing my senses, and honestly, your comments helped me to calm down. After I wrote the post, I was back in my senses by the next day. And that's when I concluded that the best thing for me to do would be to stay away from Sarah. I just couldn't allow her to storm into my life and trample all over my mental peace again. So I had made up my mind that I won't even give her a chance to hear her out. But I wish it was that easy. Of course, I decided to ignore her, but she was still hell-bent on reaching out to me. She showed up again the next day at my house. When none of us responded to her loud bangs at the door, she left. All of you must be curious about how she showed up in the middle of family dinner like I mentioned in my original post. So, as crazy as it sounds, she had tipped the servant who had been working in our house to let her in without anyone knowing. We obviously fired the man instantly when the truth came to light. Back to Sarah's failed attempts at reaching out to me. She continuously turned up at my door for the next 3 days and kept troubling us with her presence and the endless banging on the door. I had made up my mind to call the cops on her the next time she showed up. I had already given her too much leeway to carry on these crazy dramatics of her, but it had to stop. But when Sarah did not show up on the 4th day and even the 5th day, I was finally relieved that she had gotten tired of her failed attempts and given up on reaching out to me. I was happy, but the happiness only lasted a day. Yesterday, Sarah showed up at my workplace to make a huge scene there, shouting her lungs out outside of my office building, trying to forcefully get in when the guards stopped her, as if she hadn't already humiliated me enough when she left me at the altar. All my colleagues knew her by then, and she just turned me into a laughingstock at my office by this crazy stunt. That's why I think my life has turned into a complete circus. Fortunately, the guards were able to get her to leave when they threatened to call the cops on her and get her arrested. This whole incident made one thing clear to me. Sarah definitely wasn't back because of her love for me. If that was the case, then she would have respected my decision and given me some space instead of humiliating me in my workplace. I knew ignoring her was not the solution now. I have reached the decision that I am going to look into the whole matter because it just doesn't make sense to me why Sarah is back all of a sudden and why she is so adamant on taking me back. So I've decided to investigate the whole thing on my own. One thing I am sure of is that I'm not letting her get away from the whole thing that easily this time like I did before. This time, I will make sure she suffers for the humiliation that she caused me, because she can't just make my life hell and keep getting away with it. I'll start digging about what happened after she left me at the altar, and let's hope I find things that can help me take Sarah down. I'll keep you guys updated. Narrator's opinion. Whoa, it looks like Original Post has finally run out of patience and is ready to let Sarah face his fury and suffer for what she did to him. Well, I don't even blame Original Post. All of us have limits to the amount of crap we can tolerate, and I guess OP has reached his. It's only natural since Sarah sounds like a crazy obsessive woman here to wreak havoc in OP's life all over again. To me, It sounds like she definitely has some ulterior motive behind the whole thing. I'm glad OP has figured this out and is not allowing her to manipulate him emotionally. I do hope OP teaches this woman a lesson she deserves. Update 2. Well, it's me again, and this time, I am filled with complete fury against Sarah. If you thought I was mad at her in the last update, then you could not even assess how angry I am at her right now. I think I should start from the beginning about what happened that made me this furious. As I mentioned in the last update, that I was planning to investigate into Sarah's life somewhat and try and find out why she's back, I did exactly that. It was a bit difficult, to be honest. I didn't really know where to start because the 2 months after Sarah left me at the altar, I completely lost touch with her. I mean, I did not even try to track where she was since I was too engulfed in my own sorrows to even care. I guess I should have because it would have made things easier for me now. So, I turned to the only trusted source I could have to get the intel, our common friend, Valerie. Valerie also used to work at the same bookstore as Sarah, and all three of us often hung out together. So, I could say we were close, but clearly, Valerie was a better friend of Sarah than she was of mine. She had been there at the wedding and had comforted me, telling me she didn't know Sarah was planning something like this. Even though Valerie was a good person, I knew I couldn't go straight to her to ask her if she had been in touch with Sarah cause she might be hesitant to talk to me then. So, I staged the whole thing of running into her at the supermarket near her house and called it a crazy coincidence. Naturally, we got to talking and the topic got to Sarah. Valerie asked me if I was doing okay or not. I told her I was alright and suddenly asked her if she had been in touch with Sarah. And to my luck, she had been. But lately, she was busier in her own life, so she did not have any idea that Sarah was trying to convince me to take her back. But what Valerie told me was enough for me to understand why Sarah was back. She was kind of joking about how Sarah got her karma for humiliating me on the wedding day. When I asked her what she was talking about, she laid the whole story clear right in front of me. Turns out the guy Patrick that Sarah dumped me for duped her of all the savings she had in the pretense of some investment and left her pregnant and fled the country. And now, Sarah was in a bit of a crisis the last time Valerie talked to her. Sarah could not go back to her parents because they had only recently forgiven her for the humiliation she caused them when she stood me up at the wedding. And if Sarah told them about how Patrick duped her and left her after he knocked her up, they'd just go crazy and might just cut Sarah off entirely. Sarah even asked Valerie if she could live with her for some time, or maybe she could help her with some money. But Valerie was already in a tight spot and was living with 3 other roommates, so she didn't have the space for Sarah. And now, it all made sense to me why Sarah had come back to me all of a sudden. Like, can you believe her audacity? After what she did to me, she had the courage to come back to me and try to use me as her cash cow? Did she just take me for a complete fool? And on top of that, she wanted to lure me into seemingly brilliant plan by her crazy emotional manipulation. Well, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I honestly want to take Sarah down now, but the only thing I am stuck at is how I do that. She has still been trying to reach out to me, only a little less aggressively, but I am not going to confront her straight about her whole messed up plan. I want to take her by surprise and teach her a lesson. I do have a bit of a plan of what I can do, but let's see. I hope the whole thing goes as I plan. I won't tell you guys the plan right now because I don't want to get your hopes up in case it doesn't work out. So, I'll update you once I'm done with it. Let's just hope it works out. Update 3. Hey guys, I'm back with a bang this time. As you can tell, I'm pretty excited and also pretty happy. You might have already guessed the reason. My plan worked. Sarah got a punishment even worse than what I could have imagined. So let me start by telling you what I actually planned and how it all went, so that I don't miss out on any detail. As I mentioned in my latest update, Valerie told me that Sarah was scared to go back to her parents since they had only recently forgiven her for the scene that she caused on the wedding day. This had not only humiliated my family and me, but her family as well, because all of her extended family and friends were there. Her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, were extremely guilty of their daughter's behavior and kept apologizing to my parents and me for the humiliation their daughter had caused us. All in all, they were good church-going people. I mean, they were a bit orthodox about their religion, but they were always good to me and liked me a lot when I was still dating Sarah. I had always respected them because even after the whole wedding fiasco, they did not take their daughter's side and took responsibility for her mistakes. They were genuinely guilty about it, and I felt really sorry for them. And by what Valerie told me, they even rebuked Sarah about her actions and were not just going to condone her stupid actions just because she was their daughter. But I guess with time, they also found it in their hearts to forgive Sarah. I don't even blame them. She's their daughter, and it's natural for them to be moved by emotions where she was involved. But I guess the next mistake Sarah made was beyond forgiveness for them. When I went to see Mr. and Mrs. Johnson this morning, they were beyond surprised to see me at their doorstep, yet they welcomed me into their house. We broke into conversation and I asked them if Sarah was doing well. They told me that Sarah calls them every week, as right now she's off to some foreign country enjoying a vacation with Patrick. They were very considerate of how my feelings might be hurt when they told me that it seemed that Sarah was happy with Patrick, though they don't condone the ways they got together, as infidelity was a sin. They just wish she had not wronged me because of that. But they hope that someday in the future I find it in my heart to forgive their daughter for the stupid things she did. These were such pure-hearted people that it broke my heart to burst their bubble their daughter kept them in and hinder their happiness. So that's when I told them that Sarah had lied to them and she wasn't on some vacation in a foreign country, but was back here in town trying to chase me around everywhere. They were pretty shocked, but the shock turned into fury when I told them that Patrick had duped Sarah and she was pregnant with his baby. And that's the reason Sarah was back, and now she was trying to convince me to take her back since she had nowhere else to go, and she knew that if she came back to them, they would be mad at her. When I left their house after a few minutes, I was sure I had proved my point. They believed me, and now they'll take care of how to punish Sarah for her actions. So, I left their house satisfied, and now you know why I am all happy and excited. I can't wait to see how Mr. and Mrs. Johnson would punish Sarah, but if I could judge the fury in their eyes, it sure suggests that whatever they're thinking is extreme, and they won't be going easy on her. And well, call me cruel, but I'm excited. She definitely deserves to be punished for what she put me and her parents through. Update 4. Hey guys, I am so sorry. I know it's been a very long time since my last update. I just got busy with some things and I didn't realize that 2 months had passed and I have not given you any updates on the whole Sarah situation. So, here I am to fill you in on what Mr. and Mrs. Johnson decide for their daughter. This will probably be my last update on the whole thing cause it seems the mess in my life has finally cleared now. As I mentioned in my last update, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson are very orthodox regarding their religion. In their eyes, it was a sin to get pregnant without getting married, and obviously, Sarah hadn't married Patrick, and by the looks of it, he didn't even plan to marry her. But we all know Sarah made her own choice. So now, getting back to what Mr. and Mrs. Johnson did. According to them, they had already forgiven Sarah for the sin of infidelity, and they didn't have it in them to forgive another one of Sarah's sins. So, they disowned Sarah and kicked her out of the house and their will. And according to what Valerie told me, it was a whole damn nightmare. The shock on Sarah's face at how her parents found out and her pleadings when they said they were disowning her, it all sounded too satisfying. It's a pity I wasn't there to watch all of this with my own eyes. I know you must be thinking of me as some evil person reveling in someone else's misery. But that's not true. I do feel bad, but not for Sarah. She deserved what happened to her. I feel bad for Mr. and Mrs. Johnson because they are such good people, and they must be so hurt by the actions of their daughter. Well, I guess that's just life. The funny thing is, after she got disowned, in her one last desperate attempt, Sarah came begging to me, and this time, she did not ask me to take her back or lure me with some other emotional trap of hers. This time she was honest. She begged me to help her because she had nowhere else to go and was 3 months pregnant. And when I threatened her that I'd get a restraining order against her if she didn't stop emotionally harassing me that moment, she left. I have not heard from her in the past 2 months. It's been really peaceful. I guess I can get used to Sarah not being around because this time she seems to be gone for good. The last I heard, she was hopping from one shelter home to another and she had nowhere to go. Although I did feel a bit of remorse for being the reason why she was there, I believe the truth about her pregnancy would have come to light someday anyway. I made the process faster, I guess. In case you're wondering what happened to Patrick, no one knows where he fled to. Sarah tried to find him very hard, but obviously he was long gone by then. As for Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, though they were very heartbroken to cut off their only daughter, they felt a sense of relief knowing that they had done the right thing. I believe that now I found complete closure. I can actually move on from all the trauma and humiliation Sarah subjected me to. I think I have already moved on somewhat. It's just that the incident with Sarah has left me with some trust issues that I won't be able to trust any woman anytime soon. Maybe it gets better with time, as they say, but for now, I'm happy paying attention to myself and my career. I guess that's all there was in the situation that started an absolute mess, but is fortunately all clear now. You guys have been a great support to me, so thank you for that. I couldn't have made it without you guys keeping me sane through your suggestions and comfort. Thank you. Goodbye. Comments. I'm actually happy for you and am proud of the decision that you took. I know it must have been hard for you to do something so harsh to the woman you once loved, but OP, you don't need to feel any remorse for it. She's the one who did it all to her. It was all her karma, and it was a long time coming. Well, I'm just happy she's out of your life now, and please don't be disheartened because of one bad incident in your life. Believe in the magic of love. It'll find you again, and this time, the girl will be just right for you. All of this is just because she stood you up at the aisle? So you couldn't handle a girl choosing another guy over you, and that's why you ruined her entire life? She's pregnant, for God's sakes. You should have supported her for the sake of humanity at least. But rather than that, you even got the people who might have supported her against her? You should really be ashamed of yourself. So OP did end up having his revenge. Did he take it a little extreme? Maybe. But did Sarah deserve it? 100% yes. That woman first left OP at the aisle and discarded him like some trash. And then she comes back when she herself gets dumped and expects OP to help her? Like the audacity. But I am just glad that OP was able to move forward from his feelings towards her, taking charge and not letting her manipulate him more. Way to go, OP.